Welcome back to my channel. I am going to show the project that I've been working on, which is called Engine Work Needed. This is the game that the Dragrace game that my dad wrote that I was doing a code walkthrough on this channel. Alright, so here's the main menu, default main menu. Now, it asks a player in lane 1, what is your name? So I'll type in here and press enter. And then it tells you can choose your color. You have to enter a hex value, or you can leave it blank for the default. So I'm going to leave it blank. You know what? Let me try. Haven't tried this yet. Okay, so I'm gonna now just press enter and accept the default on the player 2 name. And I'm gonna accept the default color. So I'm gonna show up in this corner, you have each player listed and their amount of money, which for right now is $0. And so it says they'll each start with $250. And it does say BG room up there for background. Okay, so this I can see works. I do know that it was keeping the player name, so I already knew that that worked. But it also has the color that I entered. So there's instructions, I'm not going to read those. And now they can choose where their car is going to come from. And you see the red outline that comes up with either of these options. So it doesn't matter right now what we pick. And then we have player 2, which is in green. So that's the default color and the default name. And then they also can choose where their car is going to come from. And we're just going to say now what each player chose. And I'm not going to go on from here because the game really isn't set up to go much farther. So now I will show the code. So we start with some keywords from Basic or GW Basic, whatever it was that my dad used, just so that I can remember. So that's probably might end up being more up here, just so I don't have to keep looking them up. We have this init Python, which runs before anything else runs. So if you want a block of Python code in Renpy, you can just do Python with a colon. But if you do init Python, then that runs before any other code. After that, we've defined a whole bunch of variables. These are the same variable names to use in the original code because it makes it easier for me. For now, I will be fixing this. You see how many variables there are. I have tried to convert this code before. This is the way that I find that works the best for me. We then have 2 screens that I'm gonna, just like in the previous video, I'm gonna wait to talk about until I get to that part of the code, just so I can explain it better. We have our label start, which is where we actually start the game. All I'm doing up here is defining the 2 players. So we have in here, enter your name, or it uses player 1 as the default, and this uses player 2 as the default. It then asks them to enter a color, and so this is the default color, and now we know that a user can enter theirs if they enter it correctly, which I don't have much instructions for. And we then create the 2 characters. We have our scene BG room just because I will probably want to use a background at some point, so I left that in. Now, in the previous Renpy projects, we were using we were using jump. Jump goes to the label specified and then just continues from there. Call goes to the specified label and then returns back here, so that we're just going to go through each of the 6 phases and then end the game. Now I want to show the phase 1 code. So we're starting with 2 flag variables. The user has to choose where they want their car to come from, and this allows me to store their answer, their choice. Alright, then we have our label phase 1, and the first thing is we show screen stats. So I'm going to go back and explain. So here's our stats screen. We start with a horizontal box. So this is the box that goes across the top of the screen, and I showed where it has their name and then the amount of money that they have. And we do that for each player. Now, as you can see here, where it has new variables that I've created just for this screen, what I found out was that while this actually works in here, it doesn't update. So when I was researching how do you update a screen, it turns out that the easiest way is just to have the screen calculate any variables that you want updated. So I created these 2 new variables and it worked perfect. Now every time their money changes, the screen updates. Alright, so we will continue. It tells that they're going to start with $250, so we change their money to $250. We then give all the instructions of choosing a car, and then now I want to show this. We are calling this screen, but up here we showed this screen. So the difference is we have an image map. So I assume we have to call it because it's an image map, or maybe we have to call it to make the game pause until the user chooses something. I'm not sure, but that's how it worked. We have our 3 images like we did for the image button. And so when you saw, as I hovered over the top part or the bottom part, it highlighted, or it outlined that box in red. So that's what this PNG image is, the same exact image that I have for this. For the ground and the idle, I have exactly the same. I didn't need any differences. But for the hover one, it's that image, but with the 2 red boxes. So Renpy is actually figuring out where my cursor is and what change needs to be made. It's using only half of this image, and the other half is, I don't know if it's the idle or the ground, but only half of the hover image is being used at any time because I have 2 locations. If I had a map with like 8 different locations on it, then it would use the 1 from the hover, and the other 7 would be coming from either the idle or the ground, wherever they come from. So then we have our hotspots, and I can show in a bit. Actually, Renpy makes it easy to find these numbers. Then we say the action the user is going to take is to click. On the image button, I was using the word action, and that was actually working in here. But when I wanted to not jump to a different label, I wanted just a return value of a string. That's when I found out that you can use clicked. So I changed these to clicked and they work just fine, but action was working before also. Alright, so now I will continue. We have our if statement. This gets the return value. So this is the string that is returned after the user clicks on the image map. And we set each of our flags. It's a Oh, it's a loop from up here. So each user chooses where they want their car to come from, and then we move on. After they choose where they want their car to come from, we're gonna call whichever function, and we're gonna do that for each player. These functions, all they're doing is telling an output of what the user chose. Because right now I didn't have anything else for them to do. I'm hard coding in the cars so that I can compare with the original game to make sure that what output I'm getting is what I was supposed to be getting from the original game. And from there, we're going to go on to the race, which I don't have yet. So that'll be in the next video. But now I want to show for these hotspots, how do you find the values? From your project launcher, from your project's application, you choose launch project of the project that you want to open. And then once you're on this screen, you do Shift D. And you're in the developer menu. So I haven't used much of these. The only one I've used is Image Location Picker. It shows every image that's in your game folder. So these are all the default images from the GUI folder. And then if I scroll down at the bottom, these are my images. So I can do my hover image. See, this is what the hover image looks like. It has the two red outlines, where the idle and the ground don't have these red. So you can see down here the mouse position. If I left click and hold and drag, I'm getting this box. And I want the entire red line because that's how I did it. And then we have a rectangle copied to clipboard. I don't know if it's copying the image or if it's copying the numbers. I assume it's copying the numbers, but I never tried it to find out. And then it still tells our mouse position, but it also tells our rectangle, so you would just type these 4 numbers in exactly as you see them here. Which that's a little different. I think mine started at 5 or 6. Yeah, 6, 2, and then there's 351. But pretty close. And so you can choose pretty easily what the numbers are that you want to show. So that's all that I wanted to have for this video. I got a lot farther than I expected to. It went really well up until this point. So I'm working on the race now. It is pretty complicated because it jumps around so much. But I'm going to see where I get, and hopefully I will have another video out soon. Thank you for watching, and let me know what projects you're working on.